Hey guys, today I'm going to teach you all about area of a circle. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to find the radius of a circle and use it to find area with the formula. So go ahead and get out your binder, turn to the math section, and get ready to take some notes. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is label parts of a circle. I'm doing this with a Little Caesars pretzel crust pizza. It's called pretzel crust because the crust is all pretzel. So the pretzel part of the crust is all the circumference. So the circumference of the pizza can be represented by the pretzel. The length all the way across the pizza, that would be the diameter. And obviously, if I took half the diameter, that would be the radius. Area is all of the toppings and fillings, and including the pretzel for the pizza. So all the slices of pizza together make up the area of the pizza. So let's figure out how we're going to find area of the pizza using math. So before I tell you what the area of a circle formula is, and you should already know that, I'm going to go ahead and figure out how to derive that. That means we're going to figure it out before I tell you. So we can do that by splitting the circle into smaller segments, just like slices of pizza, and it makes little triangles. When I arrange all the triangles together like this, it looks like a parallelogram. And you know that the formula for the area of a parallelogram is just base times the height. Now looking at this shape here, this loose parallelogram from the circle, I know that the slice of pizza here, this side length, that height is actually the radius of the circle. So I'm going to label that R for radius. The top part is all the circle here. So this shape of this parallelogram is from these pieces of pizza that come from this right here. That's half of the circumference. So I'm going to label that half of C. So the area of this parallelogram is going to be the base times the height, or in this case, half of the circumference times the radius. Stick with me. I know this is going to be confusing, but I'm going to substitute the formula for circumference in for C. So the formula for circumference is 2 pi r. So I'm going to write, instead of C, I'm going to write 2 times pi times the radius, and then remember the radius is also getting multiplied here. When I look at this formula, I can simplify. Half of 2 is 1, so that cancels. And I know that radius times radius can be written as radius squared. So if you look here, area equals pi r squared. That's how we have the formula of area of a circle as area equals pi r squared because of the way that we can relate this to a parallelogram. So for question 1 here, you write parallelogram. And then for question 2, it's asking how is the circumference of the circle related to the length of the parallelogram? The length of the base, which is this, is equal to about half the circumference because that's where I took those pieces of pie from. If you didn't understand how I got that, that's fine. The most important thing you know how to find area of a circle is that the area of a circle measures the covering of a two-dimensional object. It's how much goes inside of it. So there's a formula for that for circles. It's A equals pi r squared. The way I think about it is I would say a pi r squared. And then you would say, no, a pi r circled. And I would say, no, a pi r squared. So that's something to memorize, but on testing and stuff, you usually get a formula for that. A equals pi times the radius squared, where r squared is equal to r times r. It's really important you understand that that's r times r, not r times 2. So r times pi gives you the area of a circle. So using that formula, we're going to do some example problems. I have Harlan, Kenneth, and Canley here to explain to you how to do problems 3, 4, and 5. So Harlan's up first.
Hey, this is Harlan. So first you want to have the formula so you know what you're going to be using. The formula you'll be using is A equals pi r squared. Then you want to plug in your values. So I plugged in the 3 for the r because in the picture it shows you the 3 is the radius for the circle and it causes half. And then you want to find the area. I got my answer by using pi, which is about 3.14 times 9, which is 3 squared. And that's how I got 28.26 inches squared. And make sure you put the squared at the end because you're finding the area, which is all the shaded blocks in the circle.
Hey, it's Kenneth. I'll be going over number 4 with you. First, we're going to use the formula for the area of a circle. A is pi times r squared. So the next step is you need to plug in your values. So we will be plugging in r. So in the circle, you are given the diameter, which is the length all the way across. The radius will be half of that, and then half of 10 will be 5. So here I wrote 3.14 times 5 squared. And after you multiply it, you'll get area equals 78.5 centimeters squared.
Hey y'all, it's Kinley. I'm going to be going over number 5. Okay, so the very first thing when you're trying to find the area of a circle, you need to use this formula. The formula is area equals pi r to the second power. And you need to remember when they're next to each other, it just means to multiply. Also, r to the second power just means multiply the radius by itself. Next, you need to plug in the values for r. R is the radius, which is half of the circle. The picture I circled, you can see that it's 6. Okay, and now I plugged in 3.14, which you should know is pi. Okay, so now you just need to multiply 6 to the power 2 by 3.14. Okay, so now you should get the area as 113.04 meters squared.
All right, so Harlan, Kenneth, and Kinley just did an awesome job of showing you how to find the area of a circle whenever you're given the radius or the diameter. But sometimes the area of the circle can be given to you. And instead of finding the area, you'll have to find the radius or the diameter or the circumference. So you're going to have to figure out what else goes in the formula by solving an equation. Let's use number 6 as an example. It says a circle has an area of 78.5 square inches. What is the radius of the circle? So just like you saw Harlan and Kenneth and Kinley do, you're going to set up the formula for area of a circle. You should know that area equals pi times r squared. Instead of using the radius, though, you have an area given to you. So instead of plugging in for the radius, you're going to plug that in to where it says area. So I wrote 78.5 in place of the A, and I kept everything else the same. Instead of writing pi, I can also just write 3.14. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm keeping it in parentheses because I know that that means multiply, and it's being multiplied by the radius squared. Now that I've plugged in my values, I'm missing the radius, and it's asking for the radius in the question. I need to solve for the radius. So when I have an equation that's set where I have one missing variable, I'm going to draw my line on the equals, and I'm going to solve for r. You do that just like you would solve any other equation. You need to use inverse operations to get the r by itself. So if you knew what r was, you would square it and then multiply by 3.14. So when we solve an equation, we have to go backwards. So the first thing I'm going to do is the opposite of times 3.14. And that's going to be divide by 3.14. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. It's an equation. So I can actually do 78.5 divided by 3.14. When I do that, it should come out to be about 25. 3.14 divided by 3.14 cancels, so I can just cross that out. It gives me 1, and I'm left with an r squared on the other side. Now that I'm left with 25 equals the radius squared, I should know what number times itself gives me 25. In case you don't know that off the top of your head, you can continue to use inverse operations. The opposite of squared is actually a square root. And if you take the square root of 25, you get 5. And that equals just the radius, not the radius squared. So 5 is the radius of a circle that has an area of 78.5 square inches. See if you can do number 7 with me. So I'm going to go through it, and as I go through it, if you think you know something, pause it and try it yourself, and then press play when you're ready to check it. So number 7 says a pizza has a diameter, I'm going to underline the word diameter, of 18 inches. It is then cut into 8 equal pieces. About how many square inches is each slice of pizza? Here is a visual of the pizza that it's talking about. I have a pizza cut into 8 separate slices. The question is asking about how much square inches is one slice of pizza. So that's asking about area, since it's asking about square inches. And it's asking about one slice. So it's asking about just the area of this slice. So we're going to start out by finding the area of the whole pizza first. Then we'll cut it into 8s. So the first thing we'll need is the formula for the area of a circle. A pi r squared. You think, no, a pi r circled. I say, no, A equals pi r squared. And that's how you remember how you can find the area of a circle real easy. Now I need to substitute my values in. I'm given a diameter, or a D. I'm not given an R. So you need to remember that the diameter is double the radius. If the diameter is 18, then the radius would be half of that. So half of 18 is 9. So instead of writing an R, I'm going to plug in the value of 9 for the radius. If the diameter is 18, the radius is 9. I can also plug in 3.14 for pi, and I put it in parentheses because it's going to multiply with the 9 squared. Now that it's written like this in the formula and I've plugged in all my values, I have enough information to solve for the area of the whole pizza. So go ahead and type this in your calculator and see if you can find the area of the entire pizza. All right, you should get that the area of the whole pizza is 254.38 square inches. But the question was asking about how many square inches is each slice of pizza if you divide it into 8 equal slices. Since I'm dividing this whole area between 8 equal pieces, you need to divide this number by 8. So go ahead and do that. Take a second, put it in your calculator, and then press play whenever you're ready to check. You should have gotten 31.8 square inches per slice. And I wrote that like I would write a unit rate since it's per one slice. So we've answered the question. Since it said how many square inches is each slice of pizza, I found the area of the entire pizza and then divided it into eighths. That's how much area is in one slice of pizza. Let's go ahead and look at number 8. It says a circular rug measures 8 feet across. What is the area of the rug? Here's a picture that might help you visualize this. I just picked a real cool aesthetic for this cool, cute rug. It measures 8 feet across. So think about it. What am I given here? Am I given the radius, the diameter, the area, the circumference? What does it mean when I'm getting a rug that's 8 feet across? If you don't know already, see if this will help you. 8 feet all the way across. Hopefully you realize that I'm given the diameter of the rug. Since the question is asking about the area of the rug, I need to use this formula. Area equals pi r squared. And I'm not given the radius. I'm given the diameter. I need to use r for radius. So I'm not going to just plug in 8 into the formula. I have to figure out what the radius is. The radius is always half of the diameter. So half of 8 gives me a radius of 4. So when I plug those values into the equation, I use 4 for the radius, about 3.14 for pi, and I know that if I square the radius and multiply it by pi, I'll get the area of the rug. So go ahead and take a second and do that now if you haven't already, and then press play when you're ready to check. All right, you should have gotten that the rug has an area of 50.24 square feet. All right, we have one more problem, then we'll be done for the day. This is just an example of how we can use area of circles to bigger questions and comparing and applications in real life. So go ahead and take a second and let's read through this question, writing down everything that you already know about this problem. So it says 2 different circular fountains, there are circles, are being considered for an outdoor patio. How many more square feet will the larger fountain occupy? You got 2 fountains pictured here. This is the larger one. This is the smaller one. And it says how many more square feet will the larger fountain occupy? So I know a few things. One, I need to know the area. I know that the question is asking me for the square footage. So I know that I'm looking for the area. But already I'm given the diameter and the radius of each fountain. So I can actually find the radius of both fountains. I can find the radius of this one. I just take half of this number. So take a second, and what you know is the radius of both these fountains. Write that in the I know box and then press play whenever you're ready to check. All right, so we know that fountain 1 has a radius of 8 because if its diameter is 16, half of that is 8. Fountain 2 already gives us the radius of 9. We also know that the formula for area of a circle is A equals pi r squared. And we know we're going to need to use that because we need to know the area of the fountains so we can figure out how many more square feet this fountain has than this one. So we're going to start by finding the area of this fountain, then the area of this fountain, and then we're going to find their difference. So I went ahead and wrote that I need to find the area of each fountain under the plane and work box. The area of the big fountain can be found using the formula A equals pi r squared. And then we need to substitute in our values. We were given the radius of the bigger fountain. It's 9. So instead of r, I'm going to write 9. And instead of writing pi, I just use 3.14 since that's the closest approximation we can get. When you have it written like this, you have enough information to figure it out. So you can just type this in your calculator and figure out what the area is of the bigger fountain. Take a second and do that if you haven't already, and then press play when ready to check. All right, I got an area of 254.34 square feet. Now let's find the area of the smaller fountain. That's fountain number 1. So just like we did with fountain 2 and the bigger one, we're going to do the same thing for fountain 1 using a radius of 8. So take a second, do all that we just did for the big fountain. Fill out the formula, substitute the values, and find the area, and then press play when you're ready to check. All right, so if you did it correctly, you got an area of 200.96 square feet for that smaller fountain. Now that we have the area of the bigger fountain and the smaller fountain, we're actually not done answering the question. The question was asking how many more square feet will the larger fountain occupy? When a problem asks us how many more feet something's going to do, it's asking me to subtract. I'm trying to find the difference. So I'm going to take the area of the bigger fountain minus the area of the smaller fountain. This problem will give me my solution. After you subtract, you should get the number 53.38, and I just went ahead and wrote this in a sentence. My final answer is that the larger fountain will cover 53.38 square feet more than the smaller fountain does. And that is it for this problem. All right, guys, that's it. If you made it to the end of this video, please comment what kind of pizza crust you think is best. I love pretzel crust. Today, Harlan, Kenneth, and Kenley showed you how to find the area of a circle using the radius. So now you should be able to find the radius of a circle and use it to find the area yourself. I showed you how to find the radius of a circle when you're given the area using that formula and solving it like an equation. So now you should go ahead and go back to your calendar and complete any other assignments you have left for the day. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.